You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Michigan. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie?
Let's get scary.
Let's do it.
I didn't even have to think about that one before I said it.
Oh my goodness.
Just went right into it.
Just a professional over here.
Smooth talker.
Okay, so the thing that I wanted to tell you that I don't want to forget.
Oh, yes.
So we had to drive up to the Catskills. It was a very long drive. But on the way there, I was with my mom and grandma, so we chatted a lot. And so they're like, oh, tell us about the episode you most recently released. So it was about DC. So I brought up the case, and my grandma was like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. And I was like, oh, cool. And she was like, yeah, one of her friends, who's my godfather, but she was like, he was almost on the jury.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like, he was called for jury duty.
Yeah.
He went and everything. And then I can't remember why he was dismissed, and she can't remember why either. But yeah, he almost was on that jury.
Crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That is wild.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, look at that.
I know. And I was like, well, that's so cool. It is a noisy day. Roy's over here in a box. There's a helicopter outside. We turn the air conditioning off so there's not that shh. And then the water tank is making noise. It's a day.
Can't turn that off.
It is a day.
It is a day. Before we really dive into things, I wanted to give a shout out to some of our loyal social media followers and likers too.
Yeah.
I've tried to get everybody's name that I knew did it pretty consistently. There are some people who do it and I recognize them because they've liked enough before.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't say your name or user handle, that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the love and attention. It just means that I didn't look thoroughly enough. So one of our newest followers, her name is Megan.
Oh, yes.
She likes all of our things, both on TikTok and Instagram. So shout out to you, Megan. This girl, Kelly, also.
What do you want out of there?
Are those his toys?
Yes.
Oh.
Is that what you want? Is this what you want?
He's like, I want all of them, please.
Is this what you want?
I want all of them. Like, you closed the box. Oh.
It broke my heart too much to get it closed. All right. Go on, Mackenzie.
This woman named Kelly, she also always likes our Instagram posts. I'm not sure if I'm saying this username right, but I love it because if it is right, it's Anxiety Warrior. And I'm like, yes, me too. Also, always liking our stuff. And then my personal friends, Grace and Ben and Brooke, who's also always putting our stuff on her story. So thank you for being loyal friends, loyal followers, loyal likers, because it makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself. And I spend a lot of time on these posts.
And I'll shout out to Jairus too. He's my Orange Theory dude.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I knew, sometimes there'll be people for a while that will like a bunch of things. There's someone too that has a username with slight in it, but they also like a bunch of our things. And there's this other account that's photography, which when I realized what they were, I'm like, keep that in the back of our minds.
Yeah.
They like a lot of our stuff too. And Rage Phoenix also likes a lot of our stuff. So,
Yeah, that was my coworkers. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I wanted to give you a shout out because every single time you like it, sometimes you even go so far as to comment and say you're excited. Really makes me feel good that maybe people do like it besides Lauren. Ouch. I can't laugh.
Mackenzie hurt her back and we have a rock concert to go to in 5 days.
It's getting better.
It better be.
It is.
Because we're going to be jumping around.
I did not do this on purpose.
You and Joe are both going to be there with your hurt backs, hobbling to all these people.
Well, that's why I have my Advils and my heating pad. And
this episode will go out while we're at the concert.
Yeah. And so, that's the other thing I wanted to say. The social media that goes along with it might be not as much because we don't know how service is going to look.
Yeah, service might not be great.
I'm not going to have the time to sit on my computer and make all my lovely cartoons.
Rocking out while you're doing your notes.
Yeah. Some of them take quite some time. So
yeah.
They might not be out that week. So yeah. But you'll get a lovely one the following week because we're recording it on a Saturday and we're going to drink wine. And Lord knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, we know how those episodes go. Thank God we have so much time. Yeah, freaking Kansas.
Kansas was wild.
That was wild.
Kansas was a day. I don't know what happened, but...
So thank God we're going to have time again for this one. And neither of us have to drive home afterwards.
Yeah, that's why we're drinking wine.
Exactly.
We're having a sleepover.
I know, we're having a sleepover, and I'm very excited.
So, me too.
All right, so I guess should we just kind of go ahead and jump into Michigan?
Yeah.
All right. So I know you'll like this. Michigan has the highest number of lighthouses in the nation at 150.
Nice.
They also have the only Dutch windmill in the whole United States.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the largest moose herds in the U.S. is in Isle Royal Park.
Oh, I already know what my only in facts are going to be.
Oh, I love moose. Mooses, meese.
Yeah, I hate those birds that are like deer and moose.
I know. And goose, just kidding.
Doesn't money do that too?
Oh, what?
Money.
Monies?
Yeah, it's not a word.
Is it not?
I know, right? I had this realization too.
Yeah, it is. It's the pearl of money. It's literally definition from Oxford Languages. It's a noun. Monies.
I definitely saw somewhere where it was like, because normally you drop the Y and put the IE, and I thought it was with money that like you didn't do that with because it's not a plural, but maybe I'm thinking of a different.
I think you're thinking of a different word.
Man, I can't remember this. But there's something that I was like, oh my God, that's not a plural word. And for some reason, maybe it's not monkeys. That's not it.
No, it's not. I mean, money is one of those things where it's like, I have a lot of money, but I wouldn't say.
IES?
Yeah. But I wouldn't say I have a lot of monies. But it's used.
Maybe that's what it was.
But it's used in financial context. Monies is correct.
Okay, so maybe that's why it was money, because in the layman way, we don't necessarily use a plural for it
right now.
So I'm not 100% wrong. Only like 9.
Just like 5% wrong.
10%. 10% wrong.
So I wrote down some of the largest things for you when you were doing your large things.
That was for one state because you said it had the most large thing.
Anywho, I still have them. So there's a 20-foot, 7-meter tall Leonardo da Vinci horse called Il Cavallo. It is in Grand Rapids, which remember that Rapids issue we had? Yeah, Grand Rapids, and is the largest bronze equestrian sculpture in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
Yes.
Whole hemisphere.
Oh, yeah.
Shoo.
They also have the largest weather vane in the world. It is 43 feet or 14 meters tall with an arrow that is 26 feet, about 8 meters long. The largest crucifix in the world is in Indian River. It is known as the Cross in the Woods. Yep. Michigan is also home to the world's largest twins, according to the Guinness Book of World Records.
You mean the largest amount?
No, the largest, or the tallest twins.
Oh.
Did I say largest?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant tallest.
Yeah.
Michael and James Lanier were from Troy and both stood 7 feet 3 inches, which is 2.235 meters. Their sister Jennifer, though, is only 5'2". My height, which is 1.57 meters.
That's so... I don't understand meters.
No.
Seems so like,
so
how
confusing.
tall are you? Oh, I'm only like 1.5 meters. What? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Kilometers is much higher than like pounds.
You mean kilometers is much longer than miles?
Kilograms.
Kilograms is, 2 kilograms is about 1 pound.
Yeah. So once I stood on a scale.
Oh my God.
And it was set to kilograms. And I was like, oh. And then I realized, I was like, thank God. When I find recipes online that I want to make, and I guess this guy lives not in the US, and so he'd be like, all right, you need like 3 ounces of this and 4...
Ounces is...
Okay, maybe not that. Milliliters of this and whatever of this. So I had a little calculator on my thing to type it in so that I would know what I was making.
Right, because it's not an easy conversion, too.
No.
It's like a 1.35
It's weird. Whatever. So I literally would type in the number and it would tell me what the answer was.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
All right. In downtown Northville, there is something known as the Witch's Ball.
Ooh.
It is a hand-blown glass sphere, and it is said to contain the spirit of a witch who, in the 19th century, was hanged in the town. Some locals say that it brings good luck, but others say it harbors a certain degree of paranormal energy.
I thought you had to say bad luck, and I'm like, I bet you those people who get bad luck are bad people.
Probably. The Paulding light can be seen in the forests of the Upper Peninsula near Paulding. It is light that appears as an orb. It floats, changes colors, and moves mysteriously through the trees. No one, not even scientists, have any definitive explanation for this. The sorrowful...
I don't know why you looked at me like that, because you're the one who's excluding people from being in the scientific community. So
every time we say scientists, I'm just going to have to...
Well, we're about to say it a lot because my whole thing has scientists in it.
Damn.
As I'm like typing some of these things, I'm like, I wonder when she's going to make a comment.
Comment was made before your face. All right, The Sorrowful Bride is a painting that resides in the Henderson Castle. It is said to carry a curse that anyone who looks in the eyes of the bride will experience misfortune and tragedy. It is also known to evoke strong emotions from whoever is looking at it. Safe to say, I did not look at this picture. I did not look it up. I just said, I trust you, and that's it.
I have a question.
What?
This thought just occurred to me. Do you think that there's like an ability where if you interact with or whatever enough cursed things that like you kind of just cancel it all out?
Maybe Ed and Lorraine Warren had that because they had a lot of those cursed things at their house.
Right.
So
and
maybe.
then there's like some things you can't look at directly or whatever. And I'm like, okay, what if I looked at that directly, but then I also went and looked at a bunch of other stuff and picked up things, but then all the curses just not know what to do with themselves and kind of just poof
They're like
away.
fighting over each other for who gets to curse you.
Exactly. And so it's just like, well, you know, we can't, so we might as well just all go.
This is something I would never want to figure out. I don't want to be the one to find out.
No. This is
how
definitely
curse
something
works.
that I'm putting out in the universe for somebody else to go
Yes,
do.
someone tell us.
I'm not volunteering my
No.
services at all.
Yeah, interesting. Or would you just be like extra cursed?
But then you would just be dead.
Not necessarily.
Okay, but what? Okay, so like,
There's a lot of things worse than death.
obviously. But in that case, if your life ends up being really that bad, you probably would just end up killing yourself.
This is really dark, so hopefully no one gets that curse.
No, I know. I liked my original thought where it just canceled each other.
Yeah, I like that one a lot more too. Well, there is another cursed statue
Nah.
in Michigan.
Damn.
It is the statue of Paul Bunyan. It stands in Oscoda. It is believed that whoever tries to vandalize this statue will be cursed with bad luck and misfortune.
I wonder if they said that because they didn't want people to vandalize it.
I don't know, like maybe. But because of this, locals and visitors treat the statue with great respect, avoiding any actions that may anger the spirit. You won't know this one, but the scary movie Drag Me to Hell was directed by Sam Raimi, a Michigan native. Eminem was raised in Warren.
Yeah, 8 Mile, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Madonna was born in Bay City, and Stevie Wonder was born in Saginaw. And that's Michigan for you.
Das Michigan.
Das Michigan. All right, Mackenzie, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay. So if you go back and listen to our Washington State episode, we cover the story about a man who is credited with coining the term flying saucer.
Oh, yes.
If you listen to our most recent Kentucky episode, we talk about the story that is credited with giving us the little green man idea when we think of aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren and I are very fascinated by space and other worldly things. So I wanted to continue our unintentional history lessons with UFOs and alien encounters.
Okay.
You're gonna like this one.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
So I would argue that this story is kind of the beginning of U.S. citizens pretty much calling bullshit on lame government explanations to unexplainable things.
You and your government explanations these past 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mentioned that in here. I only have one tiny soapbox for this episode.
How do you have a soapbox about aliens?
Just listen. I explain. Because I would also argue that this is a prime example of what happens when people in power spread fake news and how it can affect a community. I know that the existence of extraterrestrials is old news, but the twist with this story is that it is believed to be a cover-up by the United States Air Force.
Oh.
So get your tinfoil hats and red string ready because I have another government cover-ups conspiracy theory for you.
We're going to run out of red string.
I know. I have to switch to a different color.
Oh my gosh. So the sweet, innocent coworker of mine, he was trying to fix a picture today and it had like this background. And so he's in paint with it being really small. And he's just like really focusing to try to get this color out from behind this one picture he's trying to do. And I said, you know, you can like zoom in on the picture. And he zooms in and he goes, and he just gets up and he walks away for like a second. He comes back. He's like, thank you.
Don't you just love that?
Oh, yeah.
Helpful information when you already need it.
And then came over and we kept giving him all these tips that weren't working. Just like, we need to stop.
You were actually not helping.
He was like, I was doing good before you guys came. And I was like, you're welcome.
I would have slapped you. Okay. So, if you turned on your TV in late March 1966, you might have seen a CBS News report from Walter Cronkite about UFO sightings in Dexter, Michigan. He begins his report with, quote, reports of flying saucers are nothing new. From the beginning of recorded time, men have been seeing unexplainable things in the sky, and there's no reason to doubt they saw something. The question is, was what they saw really there, and what was it that they really saw? We all know that when people start reporting sightings of UFOs or cryptids such as Bigfoot or Mothman, people always ask about credibility. Can we believe the people who are telling us this story? I would say that the people in southeastern Michigan are pretty credible. The people that this story surrounds are not the type of people that would seek attention. In fact, they called the local police about what they saw, not news reporters.
Okay, so kind of like Kentucky as well,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like, we're going to the police.
Right. Then you also have the numerous police officers, people who are trained to be observant, corroborating these events because they themselves became witnesses to this phenomenon.
The police?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So Dexter, Michigan is a very small country community about 70 miles northwest of Ann Arbor. Frank Manor, 47, lives on a small farm with his wife and their 10 children.
No. That's like when you play the game of life and you have so many kids, you have to get like a second car to pull all your kids through the game.
I completely forgot about that game until right this moment.
Jared and I found it under one of the drawers in our living room, and I was like, you want to play? So we played life.
Loved that game.
He, at some point, took all of the fake money from every single game in the house. So we had no fake money. So at some point, I guess he had made fake money and had it in the game.
Why did he take all the fake
I
money?
don't know. So we had like $10,000 or whatever, like written on like a piece of paper. And we realized that sometimes it goes down to $5,000. So we would rip it in half. It was a really difficult way to play it. This was literally like 2 months ago.
Not last school year, but the school year before. My kids were just playing games because it's the end of the year and who cares?
Right.
I found Monopoly, but it was missing some money. So I printed out a bunch of money for them. I said, I'll print it out, but you got to cut it.
Smart.
Yeah. So you can just go online.
We didn't have a printer.
Well, and aren't those cards like telling you how much your like salary is?
Mm-hmm.
So I forget the point of the game besides making it to like retirement.
That's literally the point of the game.
That's it. That's all you do. You don't have to pay for anything. You just...
Well, yeah, you have to pay for a lot. That's why you need money. That's why what job you get depends on how much money you make. Well, you like get a job and then you have to choose like your salary card.
Right.
Yeah. So you need fake money for it.
Oh.
To pay like the bank, or like if I land on something, it's like parent teacher night, pay $10,000, you know, things like that.
So there really is no point to this game. It's not like Monopoly where you're buying property and shit. It's just roll and land.
It's to see if you can have the best life. Yeah.
I don't remember it being that lame.
It's fun.
I would always get really pissed because it was like a game of chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to get the shack. Or the one where it's like broken.
Yeah, like the hurricane house or whatever.
I think it's a tornado.
Oh.
Did not want that.
All right, sorry, go on. Go with your story. 10 children. Got it.
And I'm the one who has ADD.
Game of life.
They all have 6 dogs and about 20 cows.
Oh my God.
Well, they own a farm.
But still, a lot of dogs, a lot of kids, a lot of cows.
Yeah, I could do the dogs and the cows. Get rid of the children. In fact, I'd get rid of the children and add more dogs.
Yeah.
10 dogs, 20 cows. Each dog gets
plus the
2
6 other
cows.
plus the 6 other dogs that they already have.
Well, but I would get rid of the children and I would add 4 to make 10 dogs.
Oh, yes.
And so then each cow would have each dog would have 2 cows.
Cute.
So the dogs would have their
And
own
do you know
cat.
cows have best friends? And so it could be 2 best friend cows with like their dog. Oh.
Have you seen that video of the cows? It's like this whole event in this small town. I think it's Sweden or something, where there's this event where they let the cows out of the barn when it's springtime, and everyone's around the field to watch these cows like run out onto the field because they're so excited. And they're like jumping because they're outside and it's warm and it's the cutest thing in the world. When we're done, I'll show you.
Oh my God.
It is so wholesome.
Oh,
yes, it's
I
lovely.
love that.
It's so cute.
That sounds adorable.
So Frank Manor was also an Army vet in the 6th Armored Division as a heavy equipment instructor. On a Sunday evening in 1966, the Manor family was enjoying a night at home when around 7:30, the dogs.
Those dang dogs.
Those dang dogs. The dogs started barking like crazy. Even the cows were raising a racket. Frank Manor told the Times-Herald, "Well, I ran out on the porch to shut them up. The German Shepherd was just wild, pulling on his leash and howling out toward the field. Side note, there was a really cute article in one of the newspapers about, like, later on, there was a reporter who had said that he's like, everyone else was talking to the people and I was talking to the pup. Apparently this German Shepherd at the time was a puppy. And he was like, so what did you see?
Oh.
He just wagged his tail. I was like, this is the most
Oh my
article I've ever
God.
read.
That is so cute.
And then next to it was this really sweet article where it was like, so-and-so and so-and-so got married after like 63 years. So of course I read it.
Yeah.
And so they were together and he had proposed. And then he like had to go, he didn't go to work because it was like the early 1900s because this is only 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to leave and he got something and he didn't like want his fiance to see him with whatever disease that he had.
Oh, like a sickness.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just can't remember what it is. And so he didn't see her again. So when he finally came back, when he was feeling better, she was already off and married to somebody else.
Oh.
So then he married somebody else. But then later on, both of their respective spouses passed away. And so at like, I think they were probably in their 80s.
Oh.
They got married.
I wish they had that life earlier.
And the thing was, I don't think he told her that that's why he's not coming back. So like in her defense, he just kind of disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, peace.
Right.
Oh, he should have told her. Communication.
Well, it was literally 1901. So
Write a letter.
I don't know how reliable that was. But it was so sweet. And I was like, I want to include this, but it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
But there we go.
But it was next to the article about the puppy. So
it makes sense.
I thought it was cute. I looked out and that's when I saw it. Like a falling star, only it stopped before it hit the ground. Right out there. Just stopped in midair over the swamp and hovered. Frank called the rest of his family out on the porch so they could witness this odd event. Out of concern, Manor called the Washtenaw County Sheriff Department. About a dozen deputies and Dexter policemen stood with the family and all their eyes were glued to the object over the swamp. Manor told reporters, quote, then I couldn't take it anymore. I'm going out there, I told them. My son Ron says, I'm going with you. When asked if he brought a gun with him, Manor's reply was, no, I didn't take a gun. What's the sense? I don't want to shoot anyone. I included them in there so that other people could hear what it sounds like to be a sensible gun owner.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's literally going out into a swamp to an unknown object, and he thought, oh, I don't want to shoot anybody. I'm not going to bring my gun.
Yeah. Look at him. He would have passed a mental health background check to get a gun.
Honestly, yeah. We love Frank.
Oh, good.
We do. We have a soft spot for Frank.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Frank Manor and his 19-year-old son, Ron, started out towards the object hovering over the swamp. Manor described the experience by saying, quote, it probably took a half hour. Then there it was, right in front of us, just 400 to 500 yards. We had a clear view, no trees in the way. I gotta admit, we were scared. It wasn't like that newspaper sketch. It was flat on the bottom, like a pyramid that's been rounded off at the top, which I will have a picture because that was included. So I'll make sure to put that in there. The outside was like coral, rugged, corrugated. Oh,
corrugated or corrugated? Corrugated.
Oh my God, did he combine coral and rugged?
No.
What is that word that you said?
Like corrugated?
Mm-hmm.
Like serrated. Oh, I'm thinking serrated.
It sounds like he combined coral and rugged because it's corrugated.
Corrugated. Yeah, shaped into alternate grooves and ridges. Corrugated.
Sounds like he combined coral and rugged. He didn't. I know, but that would be really cool if he did.
Maybe that's where the origin of the word comes from.
Well, he did say it. I guess the word is corrugated because he said coral and rugged, and then I think he remembered what the word was and combined the two. I don't know. I cannot speak for the man. And there were different colored lights flashing on it. Blue, red, white. It was moving up and down, left and right. Moving slow and hovering. It wasn't actually on the ground, just seemed to be a few feet above it. From where we were looking, it looked about the size of a car. As the farmer and his son were taking in this unexplainable sight, Ron makes a comment about the machine. And as soon as he said the words, the lights on the machine went out and poof, it was gone. The two men tried to run after it, but there was nothing to be found. No imprint where it was, no burnage from taking
That's like
off.
a big thing with alien things. They'll be like, not even a piece of grass was folded.
There were some reports in some places where there was like circular things. So, but not in this place. They climbed to the top of the hill that bordered the swamp and saw the unidentified object again, which was about a half mile away. Manor told reporters about others who told him what he saw was an illusion. To this, he replied saying, quote, "Are you an illusion? Well, then neither was that object. It was as real as you are. I don't see things. I'm not that kind of man. Before this, I was just as skeptical as the next person. I'm not about to guess where it came from or what it was. Let's just say it moved faster than anything I'd ever seen before, and it was real." A reporter who had asked Manor if he was trying to put someone on later told other reporters, quote, "I complained all the way down here from Chicago today, wondering why they were giving this story more credibility than others. I am not complaining anymore. I believe him."
Oh.
Frank Manor was not the only person to see something strange in March of 1966. A few days before, Washtenaw County Sheriff's deputies saw weird lights in the sky over Lima Township that moved at incredible speed. Those same lights were also seen by police officers in Sylvania, Ohio, about 40 miles south of Lima, and by observers at Selfridge Air Force Base, about 50 miles to the east. And you can read all of the, there are actual reports, police reports of what these guys saw.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. The day after Frank Manor reported what he saw, about 80 students at Hillside College said that they saw floating lights in a nearby swamp. That one did end up being a bunch of frat guys fucking around. But
I mean, swamp gas is a real thing too.
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So over the next couple of weeks, reports of flying objects were seen over Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Just goes YP. Ypsilanti.
Ypsilanti. I don't know.
Dexter and Saline. Because of all the attention and hysteria that began to surround these reports, a congressman asked the U.S. Air Force to send someone to investigate these claims.
Wow. That escalated.
Uh-huh. The Air Force was tasked with being the government agency to investigate anomalous aerial phenomenon at the time. You may remember the notable Project Blue Book that ran from 1952 to 1969, which I think it's ironic that it was right when we went to the moon.
We went to the moon
in 1969, not 1968, but a year later. Their goal was to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data.
I mean, valid.
Mm-hmm. The Air Force decided to send astrophysicist Dr. J. Allen Hynek of Northwestern University to investigate their reports out of Dexter.
We've talked about him before.
We have?
Mm-hmm. In any of our other alien episodes, we've talked about him.
Because they did refer to the guy who saw, the flying saucer thing, too.
Your guy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked about all that.
Yeah.
I actually had to go back and double check because some of the names that I saw, I was like, did we already talk about this?
Right, have we covered this yet?
Yeah, so I had to go back and double check. Washtenaw County Sheriff Douglas Harvey shared his first encounter with Dr. Hynek. A professor came to our jail and introduced himself. He said, "I'm from Washington and I've come down to inspect the site about the UFO." So I drove him out there and he looked at it and talked to the Manors. He got back in the car and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "I really don't know. I really don't know. Something was there."
Okay.
As soon as we got back to the jail, he had a call from Washington. He went into my office. 20 minutes later, he comes out of my office and he said to the press, "We have definitely discovered that it was swamp gas." Harvey was confused by Hynek's sudden change of explanation. He went from, "I really don't know what it is," to "It was swamp gas," in a matter of minutes. Harvey later reflected and said, "And that's where it died." Meaning,
suspicious.
Yeah. Hynek was under pressure to give a public explanation and told them that the recent sightings were mistaken observations of the moons and stars, and that the Dexter sighting at the Manors and Hillside were swamp gas.
Mm-hmm.
Marsh or swamp gas is produced by rotting vegetation. Dr. Hynek explained, quote, "This gas can be trapped by ice in winter conditions." Jeez Louise, I cannot read today. "And may be released in some quantity when a spring thaw occurs. No heat is felt," although how much thawing is happening in Michigan in March?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, "No heat is felt and the lights do not burn or char the ground. They can appear for hours at a time and sometimes for a whole night. Generally, there is no smell and usually no sound except for the popping of little explosions. Sometimes the lights are on the ground and sometimes they're floating above it."
Okay.
This statement, however, outraged many people, especially the witnesses at the center of the whole debacle.
Yeah.
Sheriff Harvey commented on the statement saying, quote, "With all due respect to Mr. Hynek, I'm not ready to accept this weak excuse of gas marshes." Miss Manor stated, "I think there's something going on that people don't know about."
Oh.
And Frank Manor told Ann Arbor News, "I spent time on Army maneuvers in swamps of Louisiana during World War II. I've seen plenty of swamp gas. This wasn't it. We saw what we saw, all right?"
Oh, good.
Yeah, Frank is not fucking around. Hynek had been investigating UFOs for 18 years and denied Sheriff Harvey's claim that he was under pressure from the Air Force.
Under pressure.
coming down on you. He told the Free Press, quote, I wish I had a taping of my conversation with the Pentagon. When I read that, I was like, really? Because that would obviously never happen.
Right.
They told me it was my press conference and I could say what I wanted. Hynek did admit to saying something facetious to Harvey about not having his mind made up on what caused the UFO behind the Manners farmhouse. However, he did not intend to infer that he was being pressured by the Air Force. He told the press that he was no chemist, but swamp fires seemed to be the most likely explanation. Dude, you're an astrophysicist. If you don't think that you're credible enough to be sent to come up with what this is, why the fuck did you go?
Right.
A chemist, I feel like that would be more of like an ecologist that would understand that kind of...
No, I feel like a chemist would, because it's like the combination of gases and...
Maybe biochemistry.
Yeah, biochemistry probably.
Yeah. At the time, Defense Secretary Robert S. McNamara said he can categorically deny that they saw flying saucers. The Detroit Air Defense Sector, a system of 14 prime and many more gap filler radar installations monitoring 220,000 square miles of area in 13 Midwestern states, reported no unusual sightings during any of the periods when UFOs were being reported, which we all now know that they are never caught on radar. Dr. William Beetleman, a University of Michigan astronomer, said to reporters, quote, that anything like this should be taken seriously enough to demand Congressman's time is an abysmal thought. He called the investigation request absolutely absurd. He also said that most astronomers take UFO sightings as absolute nonsense. And I said, well, then you're a shit astronomer. Other experts weighed in to give their explanation for all the sightings. One explanation was inversions, which are belts of warm air becoming trapped above the ground in layers of cold air. The warm air then reflects light from bright objects like streetlights, auto headlamps. Auto headlamps.
Yeah, auto headlamps.
I was wondering what that was. I thought it meant like they automatically turned on and they were on your head. But then I now, as I'm reading this, realize they meant headlights.
Yeah. Those dang headlamps.
I don't know. Sometimes when I'm like reading it and I'm like, oh, headlamps. Okay, that's weird that people have that.
That it's such a prominent and prevalent thing.
Well, because, 1960s, they obviously describe it differently. They don't say headlights. They say auto headlamps. This one killed me. Or brightly colored clouds.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't go into that one. I just decided not to touch that.
Right. No.
Another explanation from the Air Force was that it was just an airplane.
Because that's always what it is, just an airplane.
The FAA reported 1,142 aircrafts over southeastern and south central Michigan on one of the nights during the sightings. Planes are required to have white, green, and flashing red lights for flying at night. So, easily confusable. Although my thing with planes is I usually think that they're a shooting star until I realize that they're just...
Right, I know. You see the light, you're like, shooting star, and then you look more, you're like, oh, there's the red and green lights.
There's a reason why B.O.B. had that hit song.
Can we pretend?
Mm-hmm.
That was in my head the other day because I was thinking about it. I was like, I'd love to see a shooting star right now. And I was like, can we pretend?
I saw this
airplane?
Hilarious TikTok of the person recording is recording this girl, and behind her is a TV with like lyrics, and it starts playing the song, the Backstreet Boys song, I Want It That Way, but it's just like the beginning part of it, and she starts singing the airplane song though. And then they did it with one of the songs from High School Musical, and again she starts singing that same airplane song.
Oh, that's so funny.
She's like, I don't know why I keep thinking it's that song. It's hilarious. I was like, now that she said it and was singing the words, it really does sound very similar to at least the Backstreet Boys one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Wilbert McKitchie, the UM Psychology Department chairman, said that many people who report seeing UFOs are, quote, conditioned by what they expect to see. And another Detroit psychologist agreed with him, saying that sightings are psychologically infectious, which I will say, out of all of the experts that have commented, we do know that when there are certain things happening, it can affect like a society psychologically.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there were definitely some in there that, like the one for the college fraternity, and they had like put a few different devices. So it was reflecting. So that's why the people in the dorm could see like this like reflective light. But really it was just whatever doodad that the fraternity had set up. Apparently Hynek shouted Eureka when he figured it out. So that's the only one of these that probably wasn't legit.
Okay.
However, not everyone sided with these experts. So the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, or NICAP,
Oh, yep, NICAP.
Was a group of investigators that investigated UFO sightings and information from the 1950s to the 1980s. It was a nonprofit organization that saw an increase in membership following the uptick in incidences in the mid-1960s. It was described as being for, quote, many middle-class Americans and others interested in UFOs, but repelled by UFOlogy's fringe aspects. It served as a sober forum for UFO reporting, inquiry, investigation, and speculation. Throughout their existence, NICAP argued that there was an organized government cover-up of UFOs evidence and also pushed for the government hearings regarding UFOs. The group even contained a few prominent military officials, such as retired Marine Major Donald E. Kehoe, who was the director of NICAP in 1966.
Dang.
He told the Free Press, quote, "There's never been anything like this before. There have been peaks of interest before, but the general public didn't believe it. Now people who have had the habit of thinking it was a big joke are suddenly swinging around." By April of 1966, members of Congress pressed for more formal investigations. They didn't believe the explanation of swamp gas either.
Yeah, no.
Among them was future President Gerald Ford and Michigan Representative Weston Vivian, who had a PhD from MIT. Serious journalists such as John G. Fuller had reported on strange sightings in Massachusetts and even went on to write a book about it. The Interrupted Journey, 2 Lost Hours Aboard a Flying Saucer, which tells the story of Barney and Betty Hill, the Barney and Betty Hill alien abduction.
Yeah.
It was also made into a made-for-television movie in 1975. Even editors of newspapers were starting to question the blasé attitude of the Air Force investigators charged with tracking down UFO reports. Charleston Post said, quote, "Something is going on up there, and we rather suspect that the Air Force knows it." The Dexter Leader reported on March 31st, 1966, which was right after all the stuff started, saying, quote, "The United States Congress has been reluctant to investigate the UFOs. If an investigation is launched, Congress will appear to give credence to the idea that there is more to the UFO sightings than a mistaken sighting of natural or human-made objects. To refuse to investigate opens Congress to the charge that the government knows what the UFOs are, but is covering up." Even Dr. Hynek himself disagreed with his original report.
Right.
And 10 years after the Dexter UFO sightings, he wrote a book called Heineken UFO Report. It was about the Air Force's strategy to cover up the unexplained aerial phenomenon.
It makes you wonder, like, what they had said to him when he came out of that room. It was like, swamp gas.
Right.
Yeah. And then if there was like an NDA and it expired after 10 years, and so he could finally talk about it.
So when he was like denying that whole conversation, that was in like an article in April right after it happened. So the article, I got a lot of this information about people kind of being like, no, this is clearly, they purposefully were like, just don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
It's from like more recent, like I think one was from even like 2021.
Oh,
2022.
Like really recent.
Yeah. And they were talking about this. And so one of the articles goes into this book that he wrote 10 years after it happened.
Maybe it was a 10-year NDA.
Maybe. Well, and Blue Book was closed by the time
Blue Book
was closed.
Yeah.
So in his book, he explains that, quote, "Sharp intra-agency disagreements brought the Air Force to the hardened stance that, given our advanced scientific knowledge, the sightings' very nature and purported behavior had to be complete nonsense. By 1948, the Air Force's anti-UFO policy was firmly in place."
What was that?
Huh?
What was the anti-UFO policy?
I think it was more so like it wasn't an actual anti-UFO policy. I think it was more of a mentality. That's just what he called it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
In his book, he goes on to say, quote, "Once the decision was made that UFOs had to be figments of the imagination, the Air Force policy on UFOs never changed direction. It can't be, therefore it isn't, became the guiding principle, and anyone associated with Blue Book, from the director down, learned to follow suit or else."
Ooh.
Hynek also mentions in his book that the Dexter reports started an initiative to diminish the Air Force's sole control of UFO investigations by focusing instead on collaborative scientific analysis of selected sightings. In fact, Hynek is the founder of the Center for UFO Studies and created a system for classifying close encounters between humans and any unidentified flying objects.
Is it like Close Encounters of the First Kind?
So anything within 200 yards, don't interrupt the lesson. Anything within 200 yards can be classified as a close encounter with the first kind. A UFO is observed but does not interact with observers or the environment. A close encounter of the second kind, the UFO interacts with observers or the environment. Examples of interactions include leaving burn marks on the ground or interfering with radio reception.
Okay.
And then close encounters of the third kind, the UFO is seen to have animated occupants. These could be humanoid or other life forms or robots. Usually there is no communication or direct contact between observers and occupants.
So it's just like seeing them?
Yeah.
Like seeing actually like the humanoid.
Yeah. And then obviously, you know, the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind is that.
I haven't seen that movie.
Neither have I, but that's what it came from.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So author Ray Szymanski, who is a retired Air Force senior engineer and a Detroit native, writes about the Dexter incident in his book called Swamp Gas My Ass.
No! I love that.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know. He told the Sun-Times News that he believed the Air Force denial of what happened caused problems for the Manners by discrediting their report.
Well, yeah.
Szymanski goes on to say, quote, I do believe that the Air Force explanation of swamp gas was a major contributing factor to the way the public treated the Manners. And what subsequently happened to them with the broken windows and people climbing on their roofs was a direct result of the fact that the United States has no shortage of misinformed and misguided citizens looking to cause trouble. So, news outlets, anytime you report something, or politicians, anytime you say that this is happening and you wonder why all these fucking psychos go and attack people, it's because you said that.
Uh-huh.
That was my soapbox.
I can think of one person who did a lot of stuff like that.
I can think of one news organization that constantly does it and is probably responsible for 80% of the hate crimes that happen in this country.
I wonder which one that could be.
And I'm bringing this attention because I know for a fact that in this area of Michigan, I highly doubt that they're Democrats and liberals. They're probably Republicans. So you can't say, oh, well, it's just liberals complaining, because no, that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
That was my soapbox. I'm almost done and then I'll get off. Frank Manor told CBS News in 1966 about people throwing beer bottles at the family car and calling the family nuts and fanatics.
See, don't.
Mm-hmm. The reporter asked him if he was sorry he reported the incident, to which Frank said, I am sorry, because it's not the truth, but it's the reaction of the people. They think they're nuts, to tell you the truth, and that's just what they figured you are, and I'm not going to take it no more. I don't want nobody down here, and just leave me alone.
Yeah. Leave Frank alone.
Exactly.
Leave Brittany alone.
He ends the interview by saying, quote, I'm bitter and disgusted, and if people's going to act like that, I hope one lands right in the middle of Ann Arbor or Detroit.
Yes.
Yes, Frank. Szymanski also told the Sun-Times his belief of why the Air Force tried to cover up the incident, saying, quote, the Air Force had questions they couldn't answer. These objects can cloak, in most cases are not picked up by infrared search and track. You can't keep them locked on your radar either. They can go 25,000 miles an hour and make 90-degree turns, usually without slowing down. They have also proven that they can shut down our weapon systems. Now imagine your job in the Air Force, charged with keeping our sky clear and free of enemies, foreign and domestic. But with UFOs, you can't. He continues, if you were in the Air Force, would you want to constantly have to answer why you can't defend us after having given all this money? Answer, probably not. So you lie. The UFO event of 1966 wasn't all negative. Richard Price commented on an article from U of M's newspaper, Michigan Today, saying, quote, the UFO event in 1966 was a dream come true for me. I was in an engineering class, and out of 900 total students in my class, only 8 were girls. As a high school senior, I had an opportunity on taking advanced placement astronomy courses every Saturday at Chicago's Alder Planetarium, and the instructor was Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
Oh.
The very person at the head of the UFO investigation. Knowing Dr. Hynek made me somewhat of a celebrity in East Quad, and as a consequence, I gained enough confidence to ask a girl out on a date. Previously, as a freshman, every girl I approached said she was dating a law school or medical school student. The UFO experience allowed me to finally break out of my shell and ultimately have 5 wonderful children I have today. Go Blue, and thanks, Dr. Hynek.
Oh, that's cute.
I wanted to include it in there because it was nice.
That's cute.
Yeah. So Dexter UFO sightings are credited with creating a drive among U.S. citizens for greater government transparency and public accountability. Reporter Doug Marin said the UFO hype also exposed something about human nature. He said, quote, while those who experienced it didn't understand it, those who weren't there at all knew all about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, as it seems to always be.
Mm-hmm. The event also delineated between those people who accept the unknown and those who attack it. And although we never got a glimpse into other worlds, we got a pretty good look at our own.
Ooh.
And that is the Dexter UFO sighting of 1966.
Wow.
So
I feel like it's kind of weird. Like the whole UFO encounter didn't seem like it was that big of a, like, intense of an encounter. Like, you know, we had the Kentucky one where it was intense.
Yeah.
But then we have this one, and it's like this smaller encounter seemed to like explode in the UFO world.
Yes. And one of the things that the NICAP group on their Wikipedia page, it was talking about how in the mid 1960s across the country, there was this kind of uptick in reportings. And other articles I read that I didn't include because I'm like, at this point, it's so much information. But they talked about all sorts of other sightings in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know, they talked about one was referring to some people, and at the time it was the Soviet Union.
Oh.
But obviously you're not allowed to talk about that.
Right.
You know, and so I'm like, there was one where it said out of the 10,000 plus reports, only 600 of them haven't been explained.
I mean, that's still a lot.
But I'm like, there are 10,000 plus reportings of seeing something, and they're almost all of them are explainable?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I was thinking of it like, oh, there's still 600 that weren't, but then you have a good point where it's like, but you were able to explain that many other ones. Like, okay.
My theory with all these like big kind of events. So you had like the first one where it's like flying saucers, and then you had the next one where it's like, this is what aliens look like. And then you have this one where it's like, yeah, we probably need to start saying that maybe they are real, which of course didn't happen until just this year.
Yeah.
I almost had included like news of alien type stuff that is talked about. I went on Mysterious Universe.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I was like, I have enough. I don't need to, I don't need to include news. But I'm thinking, I'm like, I wonder if like there's like pockets of time frames where some sort of alien technology, whatever the case may be, like kind of all finally comes to us. Because someone was saying that if we go based on Einstein's theory of relativity, where it's the fastest anything can move is at the speed of light, then a lot of these aircrafts, UFOs, things like that people have seen, one theory is that it's been years.
Oh.
So like, you know, a light year is X amount of time.
Right, like a star can die and you won't know about it till like thousands of years later.
Exactly. So that was kind of like what they were saying is that because...
Wow, that's a trippy thought.
So like if they can't necessarily travel at the speed of light so that the timing is not however it is, then obviously they have some sort of technology that's way beyond us. But
I think they do.
The idea being that, for one thing, they can travel into space. And we couldn't even get to the fucking moon. This was before we even did that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Before phones could fit in your pocket.
Before that was even... There's no internet.
Right.
Nothing.
Like, that's the thing, too, with, like, the whole theory where things can't move faster than the speed of light. It's like, that was what your brain is able to think. And we can only get our brains to so much. These other civilizations and, like, alien species, like, maybe they're just way ahead of us, so they know that they could move faster than that.
So you know how we've talked about how what we think is that these civilizations in these other worlds, when we see these UFOs, have figured out how to keep a civilization going for...
Yep, like we've talked about, yep.
So wherever I was reading it, also was giving that as an...
Friends of ours.
Right. Giving an explanation of like, they are advanced enough to where they figured out how to have a civilization last for eons and eons. It was on Mysterious Universe. And it also talked about how there were, I think it might have been Russian astronauts. They were working on something for the International Space Station in space and saw something. I'm like, that, you know, it's one thing when you see it here, but to see it out in space.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I think that would fucking trip me out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that the reason why you have these like pockets of where there's so much reporting is because maybe it takes them that long to travel from wherever they're coming from.
Maybe.
So.
Well, everyone already knows we believe in aliens, so.
You can't deny it at this point.
No.
The government has finally said, yeah.
Yeah.
Although
it's right all along.
It's funny because when reading some of these things, I'm like, I still feel like they're just acknowledging, again, doing what the government does. Like, they're just saying like, yeah, fine, you're right. no new information.
No.
It's just confirming what we already knew.
Right.
I will be impressed if the government says, oh, hey, by the way, you didn't know this was happening? Look.
They never would.
Then I would say, okay, you're being transparent.
We see how people handle big, like, events.
Mm-hmm.
Aliens being like, oh, aliens are, like, circling the earth right now? No.
Right.
Frenzy. Like, the world would, that would end our civilization.
So, this other thing I was reading about was, there's Area 51, right?
Yeah.
And the rumor was that they had all this stuff there.
Yeah.
And part of it was that they were creating aircrafts, whatever you want to call them, that had this level of technology.
Okay.
And there was a story coming out of the United Kingdom in like the early 90s of people seeing all the same object. It was like this black triangle pyramid thing.
Uh-huh.
And it was rumored that the United States government had created this aerial craft or whatever called Aurora that was very similar to the kinds of things that you see if you see a UFO. Like
Right.
It had the same kind of maneuvering and like the quietness of it and all that kind of good stuff. And again, it was like royal, whatever the royal military is called.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whatever those guys are.
Yeah.
Were like reporting, seeing things. And like there was a oil rig out in the middle of the fucking ocean.
Oh.
And these two guys saw it. And it was accompanied by like other planes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they were like, oh, maybe this is something from the military because there's
Other things
with
like,
it,
yeah.
kind of testing it out
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
And the credibility behind it was that so many people within this area all saw this same kind of black pyramid looking thing.
Interesting.
But of course, the United States denied that they were making anything.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. Even to the British intelligence.
If you have not seen the movie Nope, fast forward now for like 30 seconds. We should watch that for our sleepover. It's one of the Jordan Peele movies. So you know how he has 3? He has Get Out, Us, and then Nope.
Is Nope the one where they like see themselves?
No, that's Us.
What's Nope?
It's another one of them, but it's an alien movie.
Okay.
And it's like technically considered a scary movie, but I don't think you'd be scared watching it.
I'll read the description.
It's really good. It's weird, but it's pretty good. So we could watch that this weekend because it's like fits into like the whole alien thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you would be scared watching it. It's more like people who know Jordan Peele, like his Us and Get Out, they were kind of scary movies.
Yeah.
I think you would like these, honestly.
Is it more like an action movie?
They're more creepy movies. They're not really scary. But people were confused with Nope because he's like known for having these scary movies, and
Yeah.
Nope it didn't feel like it fit into that scary movie.
Yeah. Because I mean, I've watched some pretty like gory action movies.
It's not really. We should watch it, and then you should also try Us and Get Out. Get Out. No. Get Out before Us.
No.
Get Out is not okay. Again, if you don't want to hear this, skip forward. Get Out's not a horror movie.
It looks freaky as hell, though.
It's suspenseful because it's weird.
Already right there.
No,
Suspense.
but it's so good.
Suspense.
It's so good.
Suspense means you don't know what's coming, and that's anxiety. Nope.
No, I really do think you would like it. Like, this can be like one of those stepping stones, because I'm not saying this just because I want you to watch it. I'm saying it because it actually is a good movie. It's not scary. It's just weird.
Oh, I'm sure it's a very good movie.
So watch it. I won't let you watch Us. You'd be freaked out by Us.
Yeah, where it's like the same.
Yeah,
person.
you'd
Yeah,
be
no,
freaked
fuck
out by
that.
that one.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like that one. But I think but I think you would like Get Out.
We'll see.
It's good. It's really good. But okay, that's our Jordan Peele talk.
So, aliens, man.
Aliens. God, I love aliens.
It's crazy.
Well, nicely done.
Thank
This
you.
was a good one.
Thank you. My mentality when thinking of these scientists is the point of being a scientist is to discover how the natural and non-natural world work.
Mm-hmm. We can agree on that.
Right. Which,
Just go on with what's the rest of your thing?
my mentality is if that's the definition of science and what it means to be a scientist or whatever, I think it's so ridiculous when scientists come out and say, well, no, that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, but you're supposed to be open to discovering these new things. Could you
Right.
imagine how many people said no that, look at Galileo. He was literally on house arrest for the rest of his life for saying that the earth was not the center of the universe.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean,
And
yeah.
now we look at that and we're like, idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think scientists need to kind of get off their high horse
Mhm.
and just be open to a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you don't know everything.
Exactly. That's why you're a scientist, because there are things that you're still learning.
There's things called unexplained phenomena.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mic drop off my soapbox. So stop spreading fake news because it actually harms people.
Yeah.
And be more open-minded to other things that might be happening that seem impossible.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
You ready?
I am ready.
Okay. What's the word, hummingbird?
Cute.
Thank you.
Cute. Okay. So we have talked about many triangles on this show.
Yeah.
Like the Alaska Triangle, the Bennington Triangle, the Bridgewater Triangle. We were on an episode with the private dicks for the Bermuda Triangle.
I was actually a little worried that this pyramid thing, alien spaceship, was what you were talking about. And I really had to double check to make sure that it wasn't. I was like, well, she says triangle. I'm saying pyramid. So hopefully those are different.
Totally different. So, we love our triangles.
Yeah.
So today I'm going to tell you about yet another triangle.
Love it.
The Lake Michigan Triangle.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm so stupid.
What?
When I read that, I just thought you were saying like a lake in Michigan. And I forgot that there's a Lake Michigan.
All right. So Lake Effect Living Magazine describes this triangle as, quote, known fittingly as the Michigan Triangle, this area is said to cause time to speed up or slow down and to be responsible for the disappearance of several lake vessels and aircraft.
Because Lake Michigan is pretty big. Like it's one
pretty
of the
big.
Great Lakes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's up there with the Great
See,
Lakes.
I knew that.
Good job.
Once I realized what lake we were talking about.
My next sentence. This triangle is up in the Great Lakes.
Hey.
And covers most of Lake Michigan, going from Ludington, Michigan to Benton Harbor, Michigan to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, then back to Ludington because that's how triangles work. Lake Michigan is the largest freshwater lake in the whole country. It is the second largest of the Great Lakes by volume and third largest by surface area.
So I was just about to ask which of them was the biggest.
Yeah, so this is the largest freshwater. So I guess one of the bigger one is not freshwater.
Huh?
I don't know if it's connected to like the ocean, like up there, like the Arctic Ocean. No, that's Canada. I'm just thinking like way up there. Totally wrong. Wow, we sound so stupid sometimes.
That was all you, dude.
But see, the thing is, I caught myself before I went too far.
You said it out loud. So.
I know.
Now we have evidence. Oh my God.
That was not my brightest moment. It's okay. I'm going to blame it on me being tired.
Maybe it like travels through.
Yeah, there we go. Travels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The Arctic Ocean.
So I'm like, of course, the ocean up there, not like the Pacific or Atlantic, duh. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, there's
It's
Canada.
landlocked by Canada, so.
Yep.
That's why I was asking where.
So Lake Michigan, it's 307 miles long and 118 miles wide. It averages 279 feet deep, with the deepest point being 923 feet.
Wow.
Very big difference. This lake, while being a hotbed of just strange occurrences, is also pretty dangerous. So the weather here is unpredictable, making the water some of the most dangerous in the world. Sudden storms will roll in, bringing with them fog and intense winds.
Oh, wow.
A lot goes on in this lake, and reports of abnormal incidents occurring in the Michigan Triangle date all the way back to the 17th century.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Jay Gorley, an aviator, wrote a book titled The Great Lakes Triangle, where he stated, quote, the Great Lakes account for more unexplained disappearances per unit area than the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh.
Yeah. So kind of cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the weird things that happen in this triangle.
Please.
MichiganShipwrecks.org has a website talking about different shipwrecks that have occurred in Lake Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Out of all of the ones they found, and this is just the ones that like some of the popular ones, not even all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the found shipwrecks are 39, lost shipwrecks are 33, and one of the lost shipwrecks was the LB Fortier.
What's that?
Just like it was called like the LB Fortier.
Oh.
But it being my last name, I thought that was really cool. I was like, I never hear my last name anywhere.
Yeah.
Surf zone shipwrecks, so like in that kind of area closer to the shore.
Say it again.
Surf zone shipwrecks.
Oh, surf zone.
Yeah, 13. And then missing airplanes, 10.
Ooh.
Of all the vessels that took sail across the lake, about 20% of them would find themselves resting in a watery grave,
Oh,
which is a lot.
Yeah.
And those aren't even all of the wrecks. So like I said, just a list of like the more well-known ones.
Mm-hmm.
But today I want to talk about a few of the more famous ones on these lists.
Do it.
So back in 1679, on September 18th, the largest sailing vessel at the time, Le Griffin, was docked at Le Grand Bay, which is present-day Green Bay. The The ship was loaded up with 12,000 pounds or 5,400 kilograms. Kilograms? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of fur.
I didn't know if pounds was going to be like money and you were going to tell me money.
No, like pounds, like weight.
Weight.
Yes.
Got it.
That much weight of fur.
Mm-hmm.
And they set out for Lake Erie, where it would go from Lake Erie to also look for a western route to China. So very big.
I got to pull up a fucking map.
I kind of do too. So apparently you can like get out somehow. I assume by like streams and such. Yeah, there has to be waterways.
Well, I'm sure there's waterways, but
Yeah.
which one's Lake Michigan?
The one by Michigan. The one between Michigan and Wisconsin.
Okay. So like the one that like dips in?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a path for saltwater.
Well, anywho, somehow it's going to be able to connect to China, so we know that somehow salt gets to these areas somehow.
I can't connect to China.
They're looking for a western route to China. There has to be like not streams, but like other like rivers and stuff for them to take. This is
like the same kind of thing when they were like, oh, we're going to travel to the West Indies and they ended up in America.
No, but like literally one of the, like they have a plaque near where this happened and it talks about like finding a western route to China.
But were they successful?
Well, I'll tell you, I know.
Exactly.
So everything was
they're in the middle.
So everything with this voyage was going well until they reached the Michigan Triangle. This is when the entire vessel and the whole crew disappeared. Even to this day, no wreckage of the ship or any traces of the crew have been found. Some believe the ship was taken out in a storm and just sank, never to be discovered. Others believe that the Ottawas or Potawatomis were able to get on board, murder the whole crew, then set the ship on fire, again leaving it to sink to the lake floor. But no signs of the ship have ever been found. So if it sank, you would think parts of it would eventually surface.
And when did it sink?
In 1679.
Would it have been degraded enough by the time people started looking?
Well, I mean, people started looking like right after it went missing.
Yeah, but they might not have had the ability to go that deep.
That's true.
And if we have that ability now, would it have deteriorated enough in the water to just disappear?
I don't know. That's a good point. The ship's builder, though, believes that the crew and captain worked together to sink the ship before making off with the fur.
Well, there's an idea.
But there's no evidence to support any of these theories, and the ship has been lost since. Then we have the Thomas Hume. This is not a person, but rather a 3-masted schooner ship.
It's a schooner ship.
It's just like a big ship.
Okay.
Back on May 21st, 1891, it was making a journey from Chicago to Muskegon. Both the Thomas Hume and the Rose Simmons had dropped off a shipment of lumber in Chicago and were going to head back to the Hackley Hume labor mill in Muskegon.
Okay.
Wow. But suddenly, just as they were setting out, both boats encountered a squall. So this is a sharp, sudden increase in wind and can obviously be very dangerous.
Oh.
Yes, the Rose Simmons decided to head back to Chicago, where they had just departed from, and wait for the storm to pass, the weather to improve before they would continue on. But the Thomas Hume decided to continue on anyways, despite the squall. And just like Le Griffin, the boat, its crew of 6 vanished. When they didn't return back to port, Hackley Hume sent out a ship to search for the Thomas Hume but couldn't find anything. They even offered a $300 reward for anyone who found the ship or any signs of it, but there was no success. And I assume $300 back in the 1800s was a lot of money.
Probably, yeah.
Of course, the theory that many believed was that the ship sank from the storm that rolled in and that, like, when they decided to push through. But others, to include Charles Huckley, presumably the owner of Huckley Hume,
Good inference.
Yeah, thank you. Believed that another ship collided with the Thomas Hume, causing it to sink. While others went to a more paranormal explanation believed that she sailed through a crack in the lake. Yeah, not really sure. Like, are they talking different dimensions? Like, what are we talking about here?
Okay, see, here's the problem I have with that one, is that if there's a crack in the lake, the water is going to fall through first. So you would have to, like, be sucked in through a whirlpool to get into the crack. And then what, it closed?
No, maybe. The disappearance of the ship remained a mystery for years, like over 100 years, until 2006, a diver, Taras Lysenko, with A&T Recovery, was swimming in the southern portion of Lake Michigan. Lysenko was looking for a lost United States Navy aircraft when he came upon the wreckage of the Thomas Hume. She, because all boats are referred to she, was found completely intact, having been preserved by the cold water of the lake.
Oh, interesting.
And she was only 150 feet or 46 meters below the surface.
That doesn't seem that far.
No, it doesn't. Lake Effect Living wrote, quote, working on behalf of the National Museum of Naval Aviation, the Chicago-based company has recovered over 30 World War II planes from Lake Michigan. Instead of an aircraft, Lysenko's sonar picked up the contours of a large schooner-shaped vessel. When a team of divers went down to investigate, they were amazed to discover an almost completely intact vessel.
That's crazy.
Isn't that really cool?
Yeah. So then I wonder if that other ship, if it's so cold and things are freezing, maybe it would have still been around.
Right. And because this was found over 100 years later. I know that was like a long time since we've had this like technology.
Yeah.
But still, it makes you wonder.
Yeah, if something was preserved enough over 100 years, it might not be fully intact, but then you would think that something might be there.
Right. The Michigan Shipwreck Research Association, who we will talk about a little bit more, concluded that the Thomas Hume did sink, but they say it was due to the storm and not a collision. They're trying to say that she was too intact to have sunk after colliding with another vessel.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But again,
damage.
Yeah, it would show something. So when we fast forward 21 years later to November 22nd, 1912, the other vessel, or the Rose Simmons, the one that stayed back on that fateful day, so that one stayed back, the Thomas Hume went ahead. It was still doing its thing, delivering what needed to be delivered. So on November 22nd, it was transporting Christmas trees from Thompson, Michigan to Chicago. The vessel was being steered by Captain Herman Schwenenman. After he helped load the ship, he was ready to sail on to Chicago. So there were Michigan lumberjacks there who would help chop all the trees and everything. So he said if they wanted to, they could catch a ride to Chicago with them. So a crew of 16 plus a few of the lumberjacks who accepted set off into the waters of Lake Michigan. But just as you would think, the boat never arrived at its destination.
Damn, that sucks. They were like smart the first time. I was like, maybe not test this.
Yep.
And they got fucked anyway. It's like final destination. They were meant to die.
Right. So at some point, the ship was spotted sailing into clear conditions, but they had a distress flag flying. So whoever had noticed this, like whatever ship saw their flag, sent out a lifeboat to provide aid, but when they arrived at the ship, it was empty.
Oh, shit.
They returned back to their ship, and eventually the Ross Simmons disappeared again, this time for good.
So there's no one on the boat? Why didn't the guy bring the boat back?
I don't know. It didn't really go into that. It just kind of said they saw him, But again, there was no wreckage. Then just a year later, Christmas trees began washing up on a nearby shore.
Oh my God.
Then another year later, a fisherman in Two Rivers finds Captain Schwenenman's wallet in his net, but nothing else from the ship has ever been found until many years later.
Oh.
It was found sunken in 165 feet of water with nothing to indicate what happened to the ship and what had caused it to sink. It was just found underwater.
So it's kind of like the other one. There wasn't damage.
Yeah, just underwater. Then we have the Rosabella. So the Rosabella was a two-masted schooner and was mainly used to transport materials to the House of David in Benton Harbor. So side note about the House of David, it was a religious commune, cult, that was founded in Benton Harbor. That's all I went into that because I didn't want to go too deep.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Yes. But so they transported materials to this cult.
Okay.
But the Rosabella wasn't a very lucky ship.
So first, it was going to a cult.
Probably cursed him or something. The first unlucky incident occurred in 1875. A car ferry was crossing the lake when they noticed a ship floating upside down. Upon closer inspection, the ship was found to be completely empty. She was capsized and her 10-person crew was missing. The ship was turned back over right side up and returned back to Milwaukee, her home port. She was fixed up and remained in service, continuing to make deliveries. It sailed for a while. Then in October of 1921, the ship was loaded with potatoes and maple lumber.
Yum.
Ready to depart for some routine journey. I know. But the boat's captain, Ed Johnson, refused to board.
Yeah. Look at that one. The one, again, this person tried to be smart, didn't go, went later, still fucked.
Well, he probably didn't know because this was like almost 50 years later.
I don't know, man.
Well, anywho, he didn't want to board. He had never had this problem before, but this time he had had a premonition that a disaster was about to occur. His crew tried to convince him to board, saying like it would be fine, but he could not be convinced.
This is like what happens at the beginning of Final Destination when he has the premonition about the plane blowing up. And
yes.
tells everybody to get off the plane.
Yep. So the 11-person crew left without him. Just days later, the ship was found, again capsized, and again with no sign of the 11-person crew.
Oh my God. But it's Final Destination.
This time, the stern of the ship was missing.
What does that mean?
I think the front of it.
So they found the rest of the ship except for the front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It was looked into and the conclusion was reached that the ship was overturned due to a collision.
Okay.
But what makes it even weirder, a collision obviously needs another object or thing to collide with.
True.
But there were no other ship accidents recorded at this time or in this area, and no remains of any other ships have ever been found, making it very hard to believe that it was a collision that caused this boat to be capsized.
But what else would it be?
I don't know. Lake Michigan. The United States Coast Guards were the ones to drag the Rosabella into the Racine Harbor. They determined later, though, that there had been no collision, but they didn't expand on that and nothing new has come out.
Of course not.
Right. Just leaving us here to wonder.
Fucking government.
Then we have the disappearance of Captain George Donner.
Like the Donner Party.
Kind of. So on April 28th...
I guess that's just not a very good last name to have.
No. Oh, I saw this really funny post. It was of Donner the reindeer, and he was like, why did no one come to my party? Because it was the Donner party. It was so cute.
It's so wholesome.
I know.
So sad.
All right, so on April 28th, 1937, Captain George Donner was guiding a coal freighter named the O.M. McFarland to Port Washington, Wisconsin. Captain Donner was being a true worker and was hard at work on his 58th birthday. The ship had just picked up 9,800 tons of coal in Erie, Pennsylvania, and was taking it to Port Washington. So there has to be ways you can travel through all these waterways.
I mean, the lake's also big enough that it touches other states.
It doesn't go to Pennsylvania.
Oh, they were going to, well, yeah, but you have the other lakes. Lake Erie is over there.
So then they'll touch somehow.
Yeah.
There's ways.
The lakes touch, but there's no fucking ocean.
Yeah.
Hence my
I was wrong at the
confusion
beginning.
about the salt.
I was wrong at the beginning.
I knew that the other one's connected.
It had been a pretty intense trip, though, with Captain Donner having spent hours on the bridge directing the ship through ice floes, which are like large sheets of ice.
Okay, so I was going to ask if the ship before that you were just talking about, that the front was damaged, if the lakes were cold enough to have icebergs.
Oh, they are cold enough to have sheets of ice, but I don't know
about
when.
Icebergs specifically?
Yeah, because it didn't give months for this one.
Okay.
Well, the one where the front was like ruined, though, it was October.
Well, that'd be cold.
So up there, oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
it would be cold. But so anywho, he's going through these sheets of ice. They're breaking it up as the ship plows through them.
Keep going, keep going.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Literally, can make a reference all the time. When the ship finally reached Lake Michigan and subsequently the Michigan Triangle, it was clear of all that ice, and Donner realized how tired he was and retired to his cabin to rest a bit. He left a note to his crew to let them know that he was heading to his cabin and for them to wake him when they were close to port. The crew saw the message, and about 3 hours later, when they were nearing the port, they did as the note said and went to knock on the captain's door to wake him. But they received no response. Then they tried to open the door, but it was locked from the inside. So they're all very confused, but the second mate figured that Donner had gone to the gallery for a snack, so maybe had locked it as he was going. So he went to the gallery to check, but Donner wasn't there. This is when the crew began an extensive search looking for their captain, but their search turned up empty.
Did they search the room?
Now worried, the crew broke the door down of Donner's cabin.
Okay.
They didn't want to, kind of break in until they searched everywhere.
Yeah.
They were shocked when he was nowhere to be found.
Was the window open?
It seemed that he had vanished without a trace.
Was the window open?
The only way out of this room would have been through one of the two portholes.
That's small.
But Donner was much too large to be able to fit through them. He also showed no signs of depression or suicidal thoughts, so they didn't think he would have done anything.
Wouldn't he have had to walk past them?
And he would have had to unlock the door most likely. Or he, I don't know if they had a key, but, it was just
why
weird.
if he's leaving to do that, then why would he lock the door?
Right. So it's just all these weird things. So clearly they returned to port and told their story to authorities. Local ports and other ships searched the water.
They told their stories. What if they were responsible for killing him? Maybe it was a mutiny.
I mean, maybe. But local ports and other ships searched the water for Donner or for any sign of him, but one was never found. So you're coming up with all these things, right? I'm like, oh my God, a disappearance. And you're like, mutiny!
Pirates!
So a couple other notable shipwrecks. The SS Appomattox was used to haul iron ore and coal all over the Midwest due to its huge size, namely on Lake Michigan. On November 2nd, 1905, it ran aground near Milwaukee. Between 1927 and 1949, the SS Carl D. Bradley was then the largest ship on the lake. It was dubbed Queen of the Lakes. It was an ice-breaking ship and freighter that hauled limestone from Lake Superior and Lake Huron to Lake Michigan. On November 18th, 1958, the ship was returning from Gary, Indiana, when a huge storm hit. The storm was so intense that the hull actually cracked in two.
Oh my God.
It would then sink Titanic style into Lake Michigan.
Wow.
The Lady Elgin was primarily a passenger ship. That's a hard word, and would haul domestic cargo occasionally. On September 8th, 1860, the ship collided with a much smaller ship named Augusta. Augusta was relatively unharmed after the collision and was able to sail away, but Lady Elgin started to take on water and eventually sank.
Damn, they would just what is it? A hit and run?
Yeah, pretty much. A boat hit and run. And then you slowly sail away.
Wow. They had to have been seeing that. They don't go that fast.
I think it took on water slowly because they hit it and sailed away. This sinking would result in the most open water deaths on the Great Lakes, with over 300 people losing their lives.
Wow. But did they find that one?
I think so, because they knew it was sinking.
Okay.
With all of the ships going missing, the Michigan Shipwreck Research Association was formed in 2001. That's the MSRA. They were formed in a way to preserve Michigan's submerged maritime heritage, but also to look into the mysteries of the many missing ships and to potentially find the wreckage. It is reported that the Great Lakes hold more than 6,000 shipwrecks.
God damn.
Yeah, with many of those being related to Lake Michigan specifically.
Yeah.
Wild note, some historians believe that there could actually be over 25,000 wrecks in the lakes, with over 30,000 lives being lost.
Holy shit.
The MSRA conducts an annual expedition to look for these shipwrecks. Only about 300 of the presumed 1,500 shipwrecks have actually been found and recovered in Lake Michigan. And it wasn't just ships that were disappearing, but aircrafts too. With one of those occurring on June 23rd, 1950. The Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 2501 was traveling to Seattle from LaGuardia, New York. They departed at 7:31 p.m. Fun fact, actually, in 2008, Northwest merged with Delta Airlines.
Did they really?
Yeah, isn't that cool? But like Northwest Orient Airlines, so not like Northwest.
Oh, Northwest. I was thinking Southwest. I was like, wait a
Oh, wait,
minute.
yeah, I was too. No. That's why I was like, I need to clarify. Northwest Orient Airlines.
Oh, okay.
So on board were 55 passengers and 3 crew members. And it's so weird if you look back at pictures from like what planes looked like
Oh
then.
my God, I can't.
It looks so unsafe.
Oh, for
and just
sure.
like you're chilling in like a lounge chair.
Yep.
So during all of the pre-flight checks of the weather, it was revealed that there were some thunderstorms and possible squalls on the route, which are those wind things.
The wind things.
But the crew wasn't concerned about this. It was sort of par for the course at this point. They were all experienced crew members, so a storm on the horizon was nothing new. They set off and had been flying for a bit, but in order to get ahead of the threat of turbulence, Captain Robert Lind, 35 years old, requested to descend to 4,000 feet as opposed to his assigned 6,000 feet. So all of this...
Is 35 young, do you think?
Yeah, to be a flight captain of a pilot of a big old plane. I like couldn't think of the words I was trying.
Yeah, okay.
So overall, yeah, I feel like it's very young. So any altitude change needs to be announced to air traffic control so it could be approved beforehand to make sure that, like, you know, they're keeping track of all the other planes. They have to make sure you're not going to be flying in someone else's.
Don't run into each other.
Right, exactly. Well, their request to descend a bit wasn't approved right away. So as the aircraft was approaching Cleveland, Lynn asked again, and this time it was approved. They passed over Cleveland at 9:49 p.m. at a lower altitude. Things got a little shaky at this point as the aircraft began to approach Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Severe turbulence hit and the plane dropped 500 feet.
You know, maybe this story shouldn't be told.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that because I'm actually flying to Seattle soon. And I was thinking the whole time I'm doing this, I'm like, shit, am I flying over Lake Michigan?
My friend who went to Australia, he said that he looked up like how long ago it was that a plane crashed because of turbulence, which was quite some time ago. Might have been this one.
Maybe.
Because they say that like turbulence is not really what causes it, but I would like to differ.
I recently saw an alert came on my phone like today. 5 people had to be taken to the hospital after a plane hit really, really severe turbulence. So on to more scariness. So air traffic control instructed Lynn to descend even more, down to 3,500 feet. This drastic descent...
That's like the ground.
I know. Well...
To go from like 32 to 3,500?
What? They weren't at 32 feet.
32,000 feet?
No, they weren't at that.
Isn't that the standard height?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
But so they dropped down to 3,500. This drastic descent distance was to avoid a collision with another aircraft that had been flying at their current altitude.
Shoot.
So it wasn't like a near miss, but they were like,
yeah.
you know, they moved down. He happily obliged and took the plane down to their new cruising altitude. But the storm was ahead, and Lind and his co-pilot could see it. So they decided that in an attempt to avoid the storm activity directly in front of them, they would steer south.
Okay, so like go around it?
To try to avoid the storm by going around it, not through it. But this move actually led them to fly directly into a squall line.
Oh, no.
I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but...
It's okay.
So that is, like, again, the really intense sharp wind. The last radio transmission from the flight was made at 11:13 p.m., with them requesting to descend to 2,500 feet. It is believed this request was made because the pilot wanted to drop below the clouds for better visual clarity.
Oh, that would make sense.
But the request was denied as another plane was departing from Milwaukee at that time and would be in that airspace. After this transmission and request being denied, residents in Benton Harbor and South Haven reported hearing an aircraft flying very low and too close to the ground, followed by a flash of light over Lake Michigan.
I was going to say, that's like, I imagine, you know, Gravelly Point over by Reagan, where you can see the planes flying?
Yeah.
Some of them are low as fuck. Like when I used to live over there, the things that I could see underneath, I'm like, you are too close. I should not be able to see those things.
I should not be able to see that screw right there.
Right.
Some people even reported the sound of an explosion, but remember, it was thundering, so it could have been a thunder.
Could have been both.
It could have been. Air traffic control had alerted Milwaukee that the plane should be passing over them between 11:27 or 11:37. One time was given over the radio, but it was apparently transcribed incorrectly, so the exact time is unknown. But it's one of those times when they should be passing over Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But the time came and went, so Northwest Radio at Milwaukee became concerned. That's like their air traffic control name.
Okay.
The flight person over there contacted Northwest and air traffic control to say that the flight was late and that it still hadn't passed over yet. 10 more minutes passed, Northwest Radio still had not heard anything from the flight. Around midnight, so 47 minutes after that last transmission, is when radio operatives realized that the plane was missing. They began trying to contact the flight on all frequencies, but were coming up empty. A search was immediately called with the Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard, as well as the state police of Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Indiana coming out to help search.
God damn.
Then that next day, an oil slick and partial debris was discovered by the Coast Guard approximately 18 miles or 29 kilometers northwest of Benton Harbor, so where they believe it came down really, really low.
Mm-hmm.
Then over the next few days, human remains started to appear, such as hands, ears, and bones, as well as small pieces of debris such as seat armrests and pieces of upholstery. A pair of pants was also found, later to be confirmed to have belonged to 8-year-old Chester Schaefer, who had reportedly been on the plane.
They're like bodies ripped apart or something?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
They also found the aircraft logbook floating in the water. Certain beaches around the area had to be closed due to the amount of debris that started to wash up on shore.
Oh my God.
South Beach, a popular tourist destination, was actually closed because so many body parts were washing onto the shore. And even though debris was found, no sizable amounts of the plane had ever been found, no engine, really nothing larger than legitimately a human hand. A lot of the debris seemed to be shredded, though, meaning that the aircraft had struck the water at a high speed.
Oh, okay.
So that's why everything was
Maybe that's why people thought they heard an explosion.
Mhm.
So if you hit it at that velocity.
And when you, they saw the light flying over, they heard the plane.
Then, you blow up.
Yeah. I mean, and at a certain height, hitting water is like hitting concrete.
Cement, yeah.
So this led authorities to believe that the plane had crashed into Lake Michigan, but what caused the crash has not been determined.
The windy thing.
Though the most commonly accepted explanation is the storm had something to do with it.
Okay.
Another theory is that the plane was struck by lightning and exploded, which actually used to be a common thing. So planes used to get struck by lightning and explode. That's what happened to this one really scary thing. Planes now, though, are built in a way that if they do get struck by lightning, they're completely fine. You probably won't even notice you've been struck by lightning, which was terrifying. When I was flying back from Mexico, we were 30 minutes outside of DC. So we're coming in, and I see off in the distance a storm, lightning. And I'm like, oh God. And I was like, please just let me land.
We had a flight canceled back from New Orleans once, and these asshats decided to come on and tell us why. It was delayed, and we were literally in line. I'm already kind of panicking because I can see the storms.
Oh, it was because of a storm.
And it said that it was delayed for mechanical fixture because it had gotten struck by lightning. I shit you not, I dropped to the floor and started sobbing.
When was this? 6 months ago?
No. That flight was I was crying because that flight was delayed. No, this was not the last time I went to New Orleans for Christmas, but the time before that. 2018?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Kenzie.
It was not a good time. Speaking of weird noises, that's music?
I think so.
I hope so.
That was creepy.
A little bit.
It's echoing on the wind now. Ew. Okay, so the lightning one doesn't really have a lot of traction, though, because none of the debris that has been found had burn marks on it. Conspiracy theorists say that the plane was taken by a UFO. This theory gained a little credence.
Spit out.
What?
And then spit out.
Yeah, picked up.
Yeah.
But this one actually gains a little credence after 2 police officers reported seeing red lights hovering over the lake just 2 hours after the plane disappeared.
And this was 1950s, right?
Yep. At this time in 1950, this was the deadliest commercial airliner accident in the U.S. Wow. Another aircraft disappeared on July 3rd, 1998. Just 10 days.
Oh my God, that's recent history.
Yeah. So this was just 10 days and 48 years after the first one. I just thought it was interesting because they were in June, July. The National Cherry Festival in Traverse City, Michigan was approaching, and Donald Shaler, a veteran pilot, was planning on participating in his first air show of the festival. He would be flying a 2-seat Aero L-39 Albatross.
Yeah, those.
For those of you who don't know what this is.
Lame.
This is a high-performance single-engine jet. It was often used by Eastern European countries as a military trainer.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. In the second seat would be Donovan Rodriguez, a flight instructor at Northwestern Michigan College, and he has been doing this since the 70s. And this is 90s, late 90s.
Right.
It was about 6 p.m. when Shaler radioed to the Cherry Capital Airport, the one that he departed from, that he was 27 miles or 43 kilometers away, but was planning on returning. So he was flying out, coming back in. Not long after that transmission, flight controllers noticed that the jet had vanished from radar. They tried and tried, but were able to make contact with Shaler and Rodriguez. Coast Guard helicopters were sent out to look for the jet, but literally nothing was found.
Wait, they were or were not?
Were set out to look for the jet.
No. Were they able to make contact or were not?
No.
We're not. Okay.
Disappeared from radar, could not make contact. Okay. And so they sent the Coast Guards out to look for the jet.
Right.
Then the next day, a Canadian cargo plane, as well as the Blue Angels C-130 Fat Albert, also went out and also found nothing. After scouring miles and miles of land and water, the searches were called off on July 9th. So only 6 days after they went missing.
And I wonder too, like, I don't know how long those things like take to sink.
I have no idea.
So it's like,
because they're much smaller. They're not like your commercial aircraft.
And so I'm wondering, like, okay, if, let's say, even if it was broken apart, how long is that going to take to fill with water and sink?
Right.
When you send people out there, you're not going to see anything on the surface because it's already sunk.
Yeah. I don't know. But as with the other aircraft, the cause of the disappearance of the jet was never and has never been determined. Michigan State Police believe that the jet crashed into Lake Michigan, but they have no explanation as to why that happened. Unlike the other disappearance, we knew the weather was bad. On this day, the weather was clear.
Oh.
Both men in the jet were very experienced pilots, and the specific jet was considered to be simple yet reliable. So no weird doohickeys or whatever. It was also equipped with ejection seats and parachutes, though it was unknown if the seats were operational or not, but it still had the ability to get out of it. Think like Top Gun. One witness reported that they heard a plane flying overhead, followed by a loud firework-like sound, but he never actually saw the plane. He just heard it, which in this area, we know that's a common thing.
Yeah.
Then later that year, an underwater search was conducted using sonar, and something was found. Sonar uncovered a 30-foot or 9.1 meter long object. Searchers believed it to be the plane. So the following year, divers were sent to the lake to take a look at the object. They came back saying that the object was a rock formation of some sort. Then in 2008, sonar was done again, and another possible plane was found. This possible plane was found 450 feet or 140 meters below the surface.
And do they know what plane it is?
No. This possible plane was actually sitting next to a ship that sank in the 50s.
God damn. But
the divers weren't able to go look at this potential plane because it was at 450 feet, and the divers were only certified to dive at 400 feet. But no, the 50-foot difference, I listened to this one YouTube channel. It's called Scary Interesting. He's very cool. I have learned so much about deep sea diving because I will never do it.
Right.
So he talks about all the things that go wrong. You need I can't remember at what distance it is, what depth, but you need a certain mixture of air to go that depth. Because you need a certain amount of nitrogen and oxygen going into your bone.
For the pressure?
Yep, it deals with the pressure. And if you're not getting that, then you get nitrogen narcosis, which is when you kind of start to
Is that the bends?
No, it's when you start to kind of get dizzy. They call it as if you're been drinking a lot. So you're really drunk and disoriented and kind of out of it. That's when people start to drown because they pull their mouthpiece out of their mouth because they're so just
out of it.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
So you can't go super deep because this could happen if you don't have the right equipment.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the depth is, but if they're only certified at 400, going to 450 could be fatal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I don't know if more equipped, well-equipped or certified divers ever went down to check it out because there was nothing else about it.
Well, that's annoying.
And I'm that it's at 450.
Why do you keep finding these things that have all these unanswered questions?
I don't know. And there is even a mysterious story of a person disappearing. So Stephen Kubacki was a 23-year-old student at Hope College in Holland, Michigan. He decided and planned on doing a solo cross-country skiing trip near Saugatuck, Michigan. So he set out for his trip and was doing his thing until February 20th, 1978, when he just disappeared. The next day, on February 21st, his equipment was found abandoned, and police were able to follow his footsteps to Lake Michigan. They even found his footprints on the ice. So it was ultimately believed that Kubacki had fallen through the ice and either died of hypothermia or of drowning.
Why did he walk out there?
I don't know. So the case was closed as a sad mystery until 15 months later, on May 5th, 1979, he showed up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, some 700 miles away. So obviously he's interviewed, and he told reporters he had no memory of the last year and a half.
Bullshit.
He said he woke up one day and found that he was wearing weird clothes and that his backpack contained random maps. He put the pieces together and realized that he must have been traveling. He also had a t-shirt from a Wisconsin marathon, which he explained by, quote, "I feel like I've done a lot of running." So obviously some people think that he's lying.
Yeah, me included.
Yeah. Well, many others believe that he was just another victim of the Lake Michigan Triangle. Maybe he was abducted by aliens. Some would say this would explain his disappearance and his lack of memory. But as of now, we have literally no idea what happened to him on that day he went missing and for the 15 months that he was missing. And he claims he has no idea either. Isn't that wild?
Highly suspect.
It is kind of highly suspect. And
like, I want to believe that it's some sort of crazy supernatural thing.
Like pull of the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he has like maps and something from a Wisconsin marathon.
Well, because he had the maps because he had been traveling because he was on a solo cross-country trip.
Right.
So he would have the maps and the weird clothes. But yeah, the marathon thing doesn't make any sense. And how, like, now he's in Michigan and now he's in Massachusetts. Yeah.
I bet if there was a marathon, there'd be a documentation of the people that ran.
Oh, yeah, like a register or something.
Mm-hmm.
See, we need to get into this and be like, we want to take on this case? So disappearances and crashes aren't the only thing in the waters of Lake Michigan. Searchers doing research and shit because they're, scientists doing research and shit.
Researchers doing research and shit.
Scientists. So they were surveying lakes and the grounds for hidden structures. In 2007, Mark Hawley, an underwater archaeologist from Northwest Michigan College.
What a job.
I know.
That's cool.
And his team made a discovery. So at 400 feet into Lake Michigan's Grand Traverse Bay, sonar techniques had been used. It had found all sorts of things like shipwrecks, cars, sunken boats, and even a Civil War-era pier. But that is not all they found. They also found a series of stones arranged in a Stonehenge-like manner.
Oh.
You heard that right. There's a Stonehenge located in America, and it is located underwater at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Archaeologists discovered a structure made of stones underwater that resembles Stonehenge. Dr. Hawley wrote, quote, "It should be clearly understood that this is not a megalith site like Stonehenge. The site in Grand Traverse Bay is best described as a long line of stones which is over a mile in length." Hawley has one theory about what these stones could be. He says that they may have served as a prehistoric driveline for herding caribou.
I was going to say, is it in a straight line or is it in a circle?
He said a straight line,
okay,
but it resembles a Stonehenge because it's all these stones that randomly appeared.
Yeah. Because I was thinking if it was in a straight line, maybe it was some sort of like wall.
Yeah. So he says it could be to like herd caribou in a certain way, while local Native American tribe members believe the stones could represent a ceremonial site.
Oh, good point.
And that's not all. Among the Stonehenge structure, a large boulder was found. The boulder is 3.5 to 4 feet high and 5 feet long.
It's not a boulder.
It's a rock. Pioneers used to ride these babies for miles. So what is interesting about this boulder is that it appears to feature an image of a mastodon. So the mastodons are those huge, furry, woolly mammoth type animals.
Oh.
I think you were thinking of megalodon.
I was.
Because I was at first too. And then I looked up mastodon and it was like the woolly mammoth and I was like, oh, I thought wrong.
Glad we
so I was like,
the same thought,
damn,
though.
They had an image of this big old shark. Because I was like, mastodon can't be the right word. And I typed it, yeah, it is.
It is.
So it shows an outline of a, quote, mastodon-like back, hump, head, trunk, tusk, triangular-shaped ears, and parts of legs.
I think I remember hearing about them finding some sort of mammoth fossil thingy-mabob.
Yeah, it's like a drawing of it. So the mastodon, what's cool is it went extinct over 10,000 years ago, meaning that if this is truly of human origin, that this stone could date back 10,000 years.
That's what it was. And it was also like saying that if it's a drawing or something, it talks about like their timeline of human history.
Yeah.
It's also different.
Yeah, isn't that so cool?
The coolest.
It's so cool. So researchers are still trying to see if this structure was man-made or if it occurred naturally. This like line of rocks and the stone. So England Stonehenge.
How deep is it?
Where the stuff is found?
Yeah.
Only 40 feet.
Oh, okay.
So it's like pretty shallow.
I'm thinking like if it's deep, someone had to put it down there. But if it's like 40 feet, it could easily have been something that just melted into water.
Right.
Erosion.
England's Stonehenge is surrounded by myths and legends talking about paranormal things happening
Right,
here.
because no one knows what it's...
No one does.
Why it's there, what it is.
Correct.
Right?
Right. So people think that it's just like all of this weird stuff that happens there is because of Stonehenge and like kind of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the one in Lake Michigan has similar properties. So the ability to just make weird things happen.
Rocks.
Unexplained objects and weird things are also seen. So would it be a true triangle if we didn't talk about aliens and weird things from the sky?
I would be very disappointed if we didn't.
So when you said you were going to talk about a UFO, I was like, It's not the one I'm talking about, right? It's not a long talk at all.
That's why I was concerned too, because I saw a triangle, I had a pyramid, and I was like, shit, is this the same one?
So UFO sightings have been reported by many locals, with the first report being back in 1913.
Oh, wow.
And not only UFOs, but also USOs, which are unidentified submerged objects.
Oh.
Isn't that creepy?
We got to dive into that one.
So USOs have also been seen in the area. In 1919, people reported seeing strange, unusual, and bright lights in the sky above the triangle. Others have witnessed 2 large balls of fire fall into the lake, followed by an explosion so powerful and long that it shook the ground. Some tried to claim it was a huge meteor, but others aren't so sure. On January 30th, 1881, a steamer known as the St. Albans was abandoned off Milwaukee by its crew after it started to sink. Then just that next month, fishermen began telling stories. Off of the Fox Islands, they were seeing a ghostly steamship just floating without a crew and without smoke coming out of its stacks.
Do you think it's the same steam cloud ship thing that you talked about?
That I talked about in, where was that? Wyoming? There's probably some river to bring it to Wyoming. There's some river to bring it wherever it needs to go. But so what's weird about it not seeing smoke coming out of the stacks is it's a steamship. So in order to move, it has to be like burning stuff so that steam comes out of it.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a steamship. I thought it was a ship surrounded by...
But it's ghostly.
Right.
Yeah, so it is like creepy. So a search of the lake failed to find any single trace of the ship. Some believe that it was the St. Albans still sailing around.
It's kind of like Davy Jones and that.
Yeah. On July 12th, 1883, the Mary McLean, a wooden tugboat, was working in the Chicago harbor when something strange happened. Their crew claimed that while they were on the lake at about 6 p.m., large and mighty blocks of ice started falling from the sky. A cloudless sky.
What?
Blocks as big as bricks. It lasted for 30 minutes, and even in that short amount of time, the boat suffered many dents on its surface. They managed to save one of the blocks of ice, a 2-pound chunk in their freezer, and showed others when they finally arrived back to the harbor, as they knew no one would believe them otherwise.
Good for that. See? That's the kind of shit we need.
They're like, no one's going to believe this. Let's save this big chunk. So now we have some debunkers and explanation attempts. The Lake Michigan Shipwreck Research Association tried to claim that all of the stories about the triangle are just myths, and that this one lake doesn't have any more shipwrecks than any other Great Lake, and that the only reason the Great Lakes have so many in the first place is because of the high traffic over the lakes. So they're like, more boats, more ship.
They're big.
Like, you know.
You could go many places.
Right, and they're saying like, you know, because there's more ships, there's going to be more shipwrecks statistically. So we have 2 routes of explanation. Natural and supernatural. So we'll go with the boring one first, which is natural.
Of course.
A large number of the shipwrecks and disappearances on the water have been blamed on wind waves. Waves that occur on the surface of the water and are due to the wind blowing over the surface. Wind waves. You've seen it at the beach, like if it's blowing really hard, they create waves on the top of the water.
Oh.
Yeah. And because of the lake's shape and position, riptides and longshore tides occur often. So longshore is kind of along the whole shore. It's like more... The riptides pull you out. That one like kind of pulls you diagonally in a way. I don't know. Both are riptide type things.
Okay.
Also, the north-south orientation mixed with regular wind patterns allow waves to reach really high, like really great heights on the lake.
Did you say that again?
The north-south orientation.
The north-south orientation. What is that?
Just how the lake is shaped.
Oh, okay.
Mixed with the wind patterns allow waves to get really big.
Oh, okay.
Another theory is that of magnetic anomalies. Okay, I'm going to throw some science at you. Okay.
So you can have a magnetic...
If you can say it, maybe we can talk about it.
How can we have magnetic anomalies that are scientifically sound, but an anomaly is something that's supposed to be unexplainable?
Right. So one of the first ones is magnetic declination. So this is the difference. This is the difference between magnetic north and true north, which can often differ depending on location. And then there's magnetic deviation. So this is an error that compasses can experience due to local magnetic fields. So say you have a compass and you're holding it next to a huge magnet. The compass is going to point to the magnet rather than to true north.
Right.
On average, Lake Michigan deviates about 4 to 5 degrees westward. Okay. So that will mess with the compass a couple degrees.
Okay.
And that deviation on compasses could confuse new sailors and pilots who aren't aware of that, leading them in the wrong way and in the wrong direction.
I mean, I guess.
That's one of the the natural theories. And now we go to the non-boring one, supernatural and paranormal. So we have the conspiracy theorists who believe that the triangle contains a negative energy vortex.
Oh.
Vortexes are believed to be certain locations that emit sacred, powerful, and transformational energy.
Oh.
Locations that contain negative energy vortexes are dangerous and malevolent.
So, but you could have good vortexes?
I think so. That maybe like provide positive
We should
healing and
find
feeling.
one.
We should. We'll go on a vortex search.
Hell yeah.
A vortex voyage. Then we have ley lines. These are often believed to be responsible for causing energy vortexes. So ley lines are real things, and there are
Okay.
maps that actually show them.
Oh.
One map shows a ley line running down the middle of Lake Michigan.
Oh.
Others-
What is a ley line?
Straight alignments
Uh-huh.
drawn between various historic structures, prehistoric sites, and prominent landmarks. So if you're
Naturally?
it's like the lines that would go between all of these places. So if you're along a ley line, it means that you're between two like
Historic
sites or prominent landmarks, and that's where some weird things start to happen.
Oh,
So they're saying that a ley line goes straight through Lake Michigan.
interesting.
So I wonder what the top
I was
or
going to say, what is it
where it
connecting?
goes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's like straight through this way or straight through this way, but it says it goes down the middle of Lake
For
Michigan.
those of you that can't see Lauren's hand movement, she did vertical versus horizontal.
Oh, yes. Yes. So others claim that the vortex comes from the Stonehenge found under the water that we talked about. Others say that all of the disappearances can be blamed on aliens.
I mean, they could be,
They really could be.
you know?
There is no way to truly know what is going on in the Lake Michigan Triangle. I will end this with a great quote from H.P. Lovecraft. He's the guy who I've talked about before multiple
I was
times.
going to say that name.
Yes, I've talked about him a lot.
I know, which is why I'm like, I know him, but I don't remember why.
So he said, quote, "We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far."
Ooh,
I know, it's
I
not kind of
like
good.
that one.
So there you have it. The Lake Michigan Triangle.
Whew.
Yeah. Took us forever to get through this one with
We
all
had-
of our breaks.
We had a couple of distractions.
But they were fun distractions, so it's okay.
Yeah,
It was food in the planning for the concert.
exactly.
But yeah, so that's Lake Michigan Triangle. Isn't that wild? And you know I love my triangles. I don't know what it is about just all this weird stuff that can occur in this area, but I just love them.
Nature's weird, man.
It is. And all the shipwrecks and stuff and like the plane crashes. Ooh. But yeah, so Michigan has a lot of just weird things, unexplained things up in those Great Lake areas.
It's because it's the shape of a mitten.
Yeah.
The hand.
No, it's a hand. I just remember when I was flying, I think I told you when I got back from Mexico, I flew over Great Lake and I literally thought, that is a great lake.
I bet the person who named them had the same thought.
It was huge. But yeah, I could see how it happens. And now I don't ever want to fly over that area ever because now I'll be terrified.
Yeah, you kind of fucked yourself on that one.
I know. Especially because I am flying to Seattle
Yeah,
soon.
I was going to say, they're probably going to go up that way.
But I was thinking, I'm not leaving out of LaGuardia though, so I'll be okay.
But
We have a straight shot. I don't know if it's going to go. I
is it going to go like center and up, or is it going to go up and then over?
Thank God United has little screens. I'll be tracking that thing.
What happens if it goes over the lake?
Hold on and brace for impact. I'll text you. I'll be like, Mackenzie, we're going over the lake.
You could be one of those people that like sends everyone their like final.
My final message.
Mhm.
Okay, let's not put that out into the universe. I'll send you my message when I get to Seattle, and I'll send you my message when I'm coming home. And I'll say, I flew over one lake and it wasn't a scary one.
Hopefully.
I'm not leaving out of LaGuardia. That's how I have made myself okay with this.
Okay.
I'm going to punch you.
I didn't say anything.
You have that look on your
I
face.
just said okay.
If people could see Mackenzie's face right now, they would understand.
At least I didn't say no.
For
I'm
what?
trying to be supportive and agreeing with you. So that's why I said okay.
Well, thanks for listening.
And if our beginning note of appreciation to everyone who likes our social media posts did not make you feel guilty for not liking our social media posts, they should. And you should go follow us on social media.
And
Everything is pretty much at a Scary State podcast.
Yeah. And if you like and review us on iTunes or Spotify, just send us a screenshot of it. Email us at ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know you reviewed us and we'll send you a little something.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all we have.
Yeah.
So stay scary.
And stay safe.